Good morning, everybody! This is the TSMU fan here, and today we will be doing another review video. However, this is going to be the first review video on my channel that's focused on something that isn't Thomas the Tank Engine. That's right! Today we will be reviewing the brand new Super Mario Bros. Movie by Illumination Studios. Sorry it's taken such a long time for this video to come out. I've had to wait until the movie came out on Amazon so that I could acquire a rip of it on my computer and use it for the video. But anyways, you've waited long enough to hear my thoughts on this movie, so let's jump right on in. Before I get started talking about the movie, let me just go ahead and give out a huge spoiler warning for anyone who has not seen the movie yet. If you haven't seen this movie yet and are watching this video right now, then I highly suggest that you go and watch it first and then come back. The whole movie is available to watch on Amazon and is available to purchase on both Blu-ray and DVD if you get the Power-Up Edition release of the movie, since the movie isn't in theaters anymore. But anyways, let's continue on and start with the backstory of just how they made this thing. After the critical and commercial failure of the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film adaptation, Nintendo became wary of licensing its properties for film adaptations. According to Shigeru Miyamoto, the idea for a new Mario film came from bringing their older games to the Virtual Console and other services. Such transitions took time for the company, and Miyamoto recognized that our content business would be able to develop even further if we were able to combine our long-beloved software with that of video assets, and utilize them together for extended periods. Following the November 2014 hack of Sony Pictures, emails between producer A.V. Arad, studio chief Amy Pascal, TriStar Pictures head Tom Rothman, and Sony Pictures Animation president of production Michelle Ramo Kuyate were released, revealing that Sony had been attempting to secure the film rights to the Mario franchise for several years. Arad visited Nintendo in Tokyo in February and July 2014 in an attempt to secure a deal. In October, Arad emailed Pascal and said that he had closed the deal with Nintendo. Pascal suggested recruiting Hotel Transylvania director Gendy Tartakovsky to help develop the project, while Kuyate said that she could think of 3 to 4 movies right out of the gate, and expressed hope in building a Mario empire. However, after the emails leaked, Arad denied that a deal had been made, stating that negotiations had only begun. Through Nintendo's work with Universal Parks and Resorts, Miyamoto met Chris Meledandri, founder of Universal Pictures' Illumination Animation Division. Miyamoto found Meledandri's creative process similar to his own, and he felt that he would be the proper lead for a Mario film. They had started more earnest discussions by 2016, knowing that if they felt that it would not work, that they could easily walk away. In November 2017, reports emerged that Nintendo was collaborating with Universal and Illumination to make an animated Mario film. Then Nintendo president Tatsumi Kimishima clarified that a deal had not been finalized, but that an announcement would come soon. Kimishima hoped that if the deal was successful, a 2020 release date would be possible. In January 2018, Nintendo announced that the film would progress with Miyamoto and Meledandri co-producing. Meledandri said that the film was a priority for Illumination, and that it will most likely come out in 2022. He added that Miyamoto would be front and center during production. In January 2020, Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa stated that the film was moving along smoothly, with an expected 2022 release date. Furukawa also said that Nintendo would own the rights to the film, and both Nintendo and Universal would fund the production. In August 2021, it emerged that Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic were directing the film after the discovery of an Illumination animator's LinkedIn profile that included the film in their list. Following the full casting announcement, Horvath and Jelenic were confirmed to be directing, with Matthew Fogel attached as the screenwriter after previously writing Illumination's Minions: The Rise of Gru. In September 2022, it was announced by New York Comic Con that the film's teaser trailer will be released on October 6, 2022. Shortly thereafter, Ed Scudder confirmed that he worked as head of story on the film. In October 2022, the film's title was revealed as the Super Mario Bros. Movie. In November 2022, the official trailer was shown in a Nintendo Direct with footage showing Mario losing a fight against Donkey Kong in an arena filled with other Kongs, Bowser interacting with a captured Luigi, Mario training on an obstacle course resembling a typical Super Mario game level, power-ups such as the Tanuki suit and the Fire Flower, and several characters driving go-karts on a path reminiscent of the Rainbow Road, a recurring location in the Mario Kart series. Public reactions were still largely favorable, though online discourse continued to center on Chris Pratt's performance as Mario. In December 2022, the first clip of the film, showing Toad guiding Mario through the Mushroom Kingdom and to the entrance of Peach's castle, was revealed at the Game Awards 2022. The Verge's Ash Parrish commented, "Despite the skepticism surrounding Chris Pratt's performance as Mario, the movie's visuals, and I cannot stress enough, only the visuals, look incredible." In January 2023, a preview clip of the film was released during the NFC Championship game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. The footage revealed Rogan's performance as Donkey Kong and included Mario's transformation into Cat Mario, first seen in Super Mario 3D World. Some entertainment news sites pointed out the addition of Rogan's iconic laugh heard as Donkey Kong. Emma Roth from The Verge commented, "I'm pleasantly surprised at how well his voice and laugh suits the character," while Luke Plunkett from Kotaku commented, "Seth Rogen has been hired to just be Seth Rogen." In February 2023, a Super Bowl commercial for the film was released, featuring a rendition of the title theme from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. A corresponding website which was featured in the trailer was also released, which advertises the Super Mario Bros. Plumbing service from the film as if it were, according to Plunkett, a struggling small business servicing the Brooklyn and Queens areas. On March 23, 2023, it was announced that press screenings of the movie had officially begun. The film had its premiere on April 1st, 2023 in Los Angeles. Much of the cast and crew were present, including Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, Anya Taylor-Joy, Jack Black, Seth Rogen, and Sebastian Maniscalco. The red carpet itself featured a mushroom theme to it. Some of the cast wore outfits corresponding to the characters they voice, and the life-size Super Mario Bros. Plumbing van was also shown, being driven by Pratt with Day as a passenger. The movie officially came out in the US in theaters on April 5th, 2023. Now, with all the backstory of how they made this movie out of the way, let's continue on with the plot of the movie. The plot of this movie is that Mario and Luigi Mario are two Italian plumbers who live in Brooklyn, New York and run their own plumbing service. In this movie, they've just started up their plumbing service after leaving the Wrecking Crew construction company. They get their first call to fix a drip in someone's faucet and let's just say it didn't go all that well. They get back home and Mario hears about a water main that burst underground and is flooding Brooklyn. Mario and Luigi go to help out, and in the process, they find this huge underground abandoned pipe network. They go to take a look, and Luigi ends up finding a familiar looking green pipe among the rest of them. Mario and Luigi both end up getting sucked into the Mushroom Kingdom, and though they try to stick together as they fly through the portal, Luigi and Mario get separated from each other and Luigi ends up in the Darklands. Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom and meets Toad, the little mushroom man as Mario calls him.
That's a little mushroom man, talking to me.
Toad takes Mario to Princess Peach's castle so that he can talk to her about helping to save Luigi. Meanwhile, Luigi is having problems of his own in the Darklands. He comes across a whole bunch of dry bones who end up chasing him all the way to a castle where he then gets kidnapped by an army of Shy Guys. Meanwhile, back in the Mushroom Kingdom, Toad shows Mario around the town that the Toads have built next to Peach's castle. They eventually arrive at the castle, and inside, Princess Peach is having a meeting with the Toad Council about Bowser, who got a Power Star in the Ice Kingdom and is heading towards the Mushroom Kingdom to destroy it. Peach says that she'll get the help of the Kong army to defeat Bowser, and as she's leaving the meeting, she runs into Mario. Princess Peach agrees to help Mario find Luigi, as long as Mario can prove what he can do first. She takes him outside to this very Mario-esque obstacle course that she has set up on a balcony. She does the obstacle course first and tells Mario that if he can clear it, she'll take Mario with her to the Darklands. Mario asks how he's going to be able to clear it, and Peach explains to Mario about the power-ups, and gives him a super mushroom to use. Mario tries to clear the obstacle course, but it's very apparent that he's not ready yet, and Mario trains hard so that he's ready to take down Bowser. Before long, Mario gets very close to clearing the obstacle course, and Princess Peach decides that he's ready enough to take on Bowser. Meanwhile, Bowser makes an announcement to his troops that after searching for years for the superstar, it's finally his, and that he's going to go to the Mushroom Kingdom to ask Princess Peach to marry him. He thinks that when Princess Peach sees that he's got a power star, she'll like him instantly, and if she declines Bowser's proposal, he's going to use the power star to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom. Meanwhile, the Shy Guys take Luigi in their balloon to Bowser, and as Luigi looks back down on the castle that he was in earlier, we get a flashback sequence where baby Luigi is building a toy castle. A bully comes along and destroys his castle, but baby Mario comes to the rescue and stands up for his brother. Luigi realizes by remembering this memory that he needs to stand up for himself more often so that his brother doesn't have to do it for him. The next day, Peach gathers all the Toads outside the castle and tells them that with the help of the Kong army, they will be able to stop Bowser. They leave to go to the Jungle Kingdom to get the Kong's help, and as they're on their way out, Toad stops them and offers to come with them. He tells Princess Peach that he will protect her if she gets into trouble. Peach agrees to take Toad with them since he's so brave, and they set off. They go through many different Mario landmarks on their journey, such as Bob-omb Battlefield, Toast Arena Desert, and what appears to be Yoshi's Island. Meanwhile in the Darklands, Bowser is playing a special song that he wrote about Princess Peach, and Kamek interrupts him. Kamek informs Bowser about Mario, and Bowser asks him if the princess likes Mario instead of him. Kamek assures Bowser that there's nothing to worry about, and Bowser tells Kamek to find out who Mario is and what he's planning. Meanwhile in a fire flower field, Mario, Toad, and Princess Peach are setting up camp for the night. Peach asks Mario if he's worried about Luigi, and Mario tells her that they've never been apart for this long. Peach assures Mario that they're going to save his brother, and she uses a fire flower to power up and light a campfire. Mario notices that it seems like Peach isn't from the Mushroom Kingdom, and asks her about it. Peach admits that she doesn't know where she came from herself, and we get another flashback featuring a baby Peach arriving in the Mushroom Kingdom. She explains to Mario that she was lucky that the Toads found her and raised her as one of their own. When she was ready, the Toads crowned Peach as their princess, and Mario thinks that maybe the princess might be from his world. Meanwhile, the Shy Guys arrive at Bowser's castle and take Luigi to Bowser. Bowser tells Luigi about his plan to marry Peach and take over the world, and asks Luigi if he knows Mario. Luigi tries standing up for himself a little bit and tells Bowser he doesn't know Mario. Bowser threatens to rip off Luigi's mustache if he doesn't tell him if he knows Mario, and Luigi ends up spilling the beans and tells Bowser that Mario is his brother. Bowser asks him if princesses find him attractive, and Luigi tells him that they do if they have good taste. Bowser plans to see just how tough Mario is when he watches him kill Luigi, and Luigi gets imprisoned in a small cage just above a gigantic pool of lava. Luigi is wondering where exactly he is when suddenly he hears the laughter of a Luma who has also been imprisoned by Bowser, but instead of wanting to escape, the Luma yearns for the sweet relief of death, as he puts it. Meanwhile, Mario, Peach, and Toad finally arrive in the Jungle Kingdom and reach the home of the Kongs. Princess Peach knocks on the door, and one of the Kongs answers it. Peach tells him that they're there to see the king, and he drives them to where the king is. It's revealed that the king of the Kongs is none other than Cranky Kong from the Donkey Kong games. Princess Peach tells him that she needs his help or the Mushroom Kingdom will be destroyed, and Cranky Kong doesn't think that they're worthy of fighting alongside the Kong army. Princess Peach tries to convince him, but Cranky Kong doesn't budge until Mario steps forward and tells him that they're not leaving without help from the Kong army. Cranky Kong finds this funny and tells Mario that if he can defeat his son in a battle, they can get help from the Kong army. Princess Peach thinks that this is a terrible idea, but Mario agrees to fight anyway. Before long, the time to fight arrives, and Mario arrives in the Great Ring of Kong, where a crowd of Kongs are booing him in the stands. Eventually, Cranky Kong's son arrives, and of course we all know who that is. It's none other than Donkey Kong himself. He arrives in the ring to a rousing welcome from the audience, and Cranky Kong tells them all to simmer down, including a small cameo from Diddy Kong, who who is cheering for Donkey Kong to win. Luckily for Mario, Cranky Kong put power-ups around the arena, and Donkey Kong says that he doesn't need anything special to win. Before long, the fight starts, and at first, Mario doesn't stand a chance against Donkey Kong. Mario tries getting a power-up, and gets a mini mushroom from one of the question blocks. However, Mario doesn't know what the mushroom does to him until he eats it. The fight continues, and Mario tries fighting Donkey Kong physically and even trying to get a fire flower, but nothing works. Eventually, Mario ends up getting a different power-up, and the one that he ended up getting was the Super Bell from Super Mario 3D World. This of course turns Mario into Cat Mario, and everyone laughs at him. However, Mario proves that even though he looks silly as Cat Mario, he's very powerful and manages to have Donkey Kong meet his match. Eventually, with his new powers, Mario ends up beating Donkey Kong, and afterwards, Princess Peach compliments Mario on just how good the battle went. Donkey Kong arrives and says that he apparently let Mario win. Cranky Kong stops them before another fight can break out and tells the princess that he's located Bowser's ship heading to the Mushroom Kingdom and that he'll arrive by sundown. Peach and Cranky Kong plan to beat Bowser there and ambush him, and to do that, they're going to need carts. Cranky Kong takes them to a big warehouse where a lot of carts are being made, and Mario, Peach, and Toad all make carts for themselves to use too. They all leave with Donkey Kong and the rest of the Kong army for the Mushroom Kingdom. Meanwhile, Bowser is practicing his proposal to Peach, and a Koopa comes in and tells Bowser that Mario won against Donkey Kong. Bowser is worried if Peach was impressed with Mario, to which the Koopa replies with,
It appears so.
He tells Bowser about their planned shortcut to ambush him, and it appears that Bowser has a plan of his own about their shortcut. Meanwhile, the Kong army, Mario, Peach, and Toad are all making their way to the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's revealed that the secret shortcut that they're using to ambush Bowser is none other than Rainbow Road from the Mario Kart games. But Bowser and his minions arrive, and a bunch of Koopas make their way onto the road. A big battle breaks out, and Mario almost gets crushed by a crusher on one of the Koopas' carts. Fortunately, he jumps off the road onto a different road, but then his cart gets destroyed by bullet bills, and he flies off and manages to stomp on a Koopa and take his cart instead. The crusher catches back up with Mario and crushes his cart. But fortunately, Mario jumps out and sees Donkey Kong heading towards him. He jumps off of the Koopa and the Crusher and lands in Donkey Kong's cart, and he takes the Crusher out with one of the barrel rockets on his cart. However, the Koopa and the Crusher survive the crash, because he is none other than a blue shell Koopa, and he ends up destroying the road. Mario and Donkey Kong both fall down into the ocean below, and Princess Peach and Toad have no choice but to leave them behind. Meanwhile, as Mario and Donkey Kong fall, they start arguing with each other again. But when they fall into the water, a tire from Donkey Kong's cart hits him in the back of the head and knocks him out. Fortunately, Mario saves him from the giant eel below them that eats up Donkey Kong's cart. They both resurface, and Donkey Kong is surprised that Mario saved him. But then the eel surfaces too and eats them both. Meanwhile, Peach and Toad arrive at the Mushroom Kingdom and warn everyone that Bowser is on his way. She tells everybody to evacuate the city as she drives up to the castle. She arrives and tells the Toad Council that she lost the Kong army and Mario is gone. She also tells the council that Bowser is coming and that they need to evacuate, and tells Toad to go with them. However, Toad refuses to leave Peach's side, as he promised before not to let anyone hurt Peach. Everybody evacuates the Mushroom Kingdom just in time, for just as Peach and Toad make their way outside with weapons to stop Bowser, he arrives at Peach's castle. Bowser shows Peach the star that he managed to obtain from the Ice Kingdom, and Peach tells him to use it now if he's going to use it. However, Bowser tells Peach that he stole it for her, and asks Peach if she will marry him. Peach of course responds back with a no, and Bowser has Kamek cast a spell on Toad. Peach gives in and says that she'll marry Bowser just as long as he doesn't hurt the Toads, and Bowser has Kamek let Toad go. Peach goes along with Bowser and Toad gets dragged in too. Back in the dungeon, the Kongs get dropped in with the rest of the prisoners. Kamek arrives and tells them all that they're invited invited to Bowser's wedding, where they will all be sacrificed. Meanwhile, under the water, Donkey Kong and Mario are still arguing inside the eel's stomach. Donkey Kong gets so angry with Mario that he throws a tantrum about being called a smash monkey by Mario. This makes the eel react to Donkey Kong hitting the inside of his stomach, and Mario and Donkey Kong get an idea to escape the eel using the leftover barrel rocket on Donkey Kong's cart. They make their way out and head for the Mushroom Kingdom together. Meanwhile, Bowser's minions are all preparing for the wedding, and a lot of familiar faces from previous Mario games show up, such as King Bob-omb from Super Mario 64 and King Boo as examples. Peach is preparing for the wedding too, and Toad brings her a bouquet of flowers to use. Eventually, Peach makes her way down the aisle and the wedding begins. Peach gasps in shock as she sees that the prisoners are being lowered into the lava in front of her in her honor by Bowser. But before Kamek can start reading off the wedding vows, Princess Peach reveals that she has an ice flower hidden inside her bouquet and uses it to power up. Her ice powers help her to freeze Bowser up completely and stop the winch lowering the prisoners into the lava. Meanwhile, as she fights the enemies watching in the audience, Mario and Donkey Kong arrive. However, they get struck out of the air by a bullet bill and end up in the Mushroom Kingdom. They use the power-ups around them to help them out, Donkey Kong getting a fire flower and Mario getting a super mushroom. They defeat the enemies in the city, but in the process they lose their power-ups. Mario, however, ends up getting a Tanuki leaf and turns into Tanuki Mario, and both of them make their way up to where the wedding is taking place. At the wedding, things aren't going so well. The ice stopping the winch from turning is starting to crack, while Peach is dealing with the enemies in the wedding. She throws a burning spear towards King Bob-omb, which lights his fuse. Just then, the ice on the winch breaks completely, and before Peach can freeze it again, King Bob-omb explodes and Peach loses her power-up. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, Donkey Kong arrives and turns the winch back in the opposite direction, saving all the prisoners. However, as Luigi tries to climb out of his cage to safety, he slips, and Mario ends up catching him. Mario flies Luigi back up to safety, and the two brothers have a happy reunion. Donkey Kong rescues his father, and even Cranky Kong ends up changing his mind about his son, and that he isn't all bad after all. However, the ice keeping Bowser frozen up breaks loose. Suddenly, a giant bonsai bill, I know it's called a bomber bill in this movie, but I'm going to stick with the name that I know,
Launch the bomber bill and destroy the Mushroom Kingdom!
Gets launched out from the volcano on top of Bowser's castle, and is heading straight for Peach's castle to destroy it. Mario flies up to it and tries to stop it, but it's too heavy for him to knock out of the way. Mario ends up using his tail to hit the bonsai bill in the eye, and it stops just in time, turning its attention towards Mario instead. The giant bonsai bill chases Mario all around the Mushroom Kingdom until Mario ends up seeing the pipe that he was launched out of when he arrived there. He has the bonsai bill follow him towards the pipe, and Mario gets out of the way just in time. The bonsai bill explodes in the pipe, causing everything in the Mushroom Kingdom to get sucked inside. Mario gets launched out of the underground pipe network and lands back in the real world. Spike arrives and almost runs him over, but before he can say anything else, Bowser's castle emerges from the ground. Peach, Toad, Donkey Kong, and Luigi also get launched out as well, and the superstar bounces out of Bowser's castle and stops in front of Mario. Bowser climbs out from the wreckage, but before Mario can grab the superstar, Bowser fights him and is really giving Mario a hard time. Bowser eventually hits Mario with his tail and sends him flying right into the Punch-Out Pizzeria, where Mario and Luigi saw their plumbing ad on the TV at the start of the movie. Bowser tells Mario to come out and fight, but Mario is tired out. Luckily, Peach and Donkey Kong come to the rescue and punch Bowser away. While Bowser is fighting them, Mario is sitting in the pizzeria exhausted. Just then, the plumbing ad comes on the TV, but the signal is weak, so the ad tells Mario to save Brooklyn. Mario gets back up and bravely comes out of the pizzeria to see that Bowser is starting to win against Donkey Kong. Before Bowser can slice him with his claws, Mario arrives and tells Bowser to leave him alone. Peach helps Mario out by hitting a Koopa shell, which hits the superstar and sends it flying away from Bowser. Mario and Bowser both run to grab it, and Bowser launches out a huge blast of fire from out of his mouth. But before it can burn him, Luigi jumps in and uses a manhole cover to block the flames, finally standing up for his brother instead of the other way around. They quickly jump towards the superstar and grab it together, making the both of them invincible to any attack. They use their invincibility powers to defeat all the enemies in their way, including Bowser. When their star power runs out, everyone confronts Bowser, who tries to ask Peach for a second chance. Peach of course declines and gives Bowser a mini mushroom, putting him in a jar to stop him from causing any more trouble. Even Mario's parents come up and congratulate them both. And with them, they bring an entire crowd of people who all cheer for the heroes Mario and Luigi. The movie ends revealing that Mario and Luigi stayed in the Mushroom Kingdom to protect it if Bowser ever came back. Now, this movie has become particularly famous, being the second highest grossing animated film ever made.
That is cinema.
But is this movie really all it's cracked up to be? We'll find out by doing the same structure that my other review videos follow, by talking about the negatives first, moving on to the positives, and then talking about other miscellaneous things that I noticed in the movie. So without further ado, let's move on to what the negatives in this movie were. The absolute worst thing about this movie, without question, is the pacing. The pacing in this movie is way too fast. I appreciate that this movie doesn't really waste any time in getting to all of the fun and interesting stuff. But when the fun and interesting stuff finally happens, the pacing is so fast that it's over before you realize it even happened. There are a lot of scenes in this movie that feel like they were made to show off just how beautiful the world of Mario can be, especially with the fire flower field scene. But this movie doesn't really take its time in a lot of those places to show off just how stunning some of the locations are to look at. In fact, in the direct trailers that we got before the movie came out, some of them ended up featuring scenes that ended up getting deleted in the final movie. I have a feeling that maybe if they included these scenes, then the movie would flow a lot better. I don't know how true this is, but I saw a post on Twitter that said that apparently Michael Jelenic, co-director of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, explained how he approached the film by saying, "I'm a massive fan of all aspects of the Mario series. I know speedrunning is very popular among the fan base, so I decided to apply that to the film by speedrunning every scene." Now, this might very likely be a joke tweet made by someone just because they felt that the pacing was too quick as well. But if this is actually true, then that really explains a lot. The movie goes by way too fast, and speedrunning a movie just for the sake of keeping it down to an hour and 32-minute runtime isn't the best way to handle it. Also, apparently there is a piece of music that ended up getting cut from the final movie, which is titled Drivin' Me Bananas. The song itself is made up of musical references to some of the Donkey Kong games, and in the final movie, it's replaced with Take On Me by Aha. I do think that Take On Me was a small bit out of place for the scene of one of the Kongs driving Mario, Peach, and Toad to see Cranky Kong, but the main reason why I mentioned this is because originally, the scene where Mario and Luigi fight Bowser at the end of the movie was supposed to have a completely different song playing there too. Apparently, the piece at the end of the movie where Mario and Luigi power up with the Power Star was going to be replaced with Jump by Van Halen. This didn't sit well with the composer Brian Tyler, who fought for something from the Mario universe to be used instead. Tyler ended up being victorious, which led to the battle instead featuring a play on Mario's invincibility theme. I'm honestly really glad that they didn't use Jump for the final battle of the movie, because that would be really pushing it a bit too far with using popular songs for the movie's score. I know that Illumination isn't famous for doing stuff like this, featuring songs such as Happy by Pharrell Williams and Despicable Me 2, and featuring a lot of licensed songs in their movie Sing. But honestly, I feel like there's a limit to how many of them you should put in your movie. You shouldn't force licensed songs into scenes where they don't really make a whole lot of sense being there. Otherwise, it just feels like you're trying to pander to the older adults watching this movie with their kids. Another thing that I didn't necessarily like about this movie, and this is mostly just a little nitpick that I have, is that Luigi was mostly portrayed as a scaredy cat in this movie. I am fully aware that this is not the first time he's acted as such, as games such as Luigi's Mansion show us. But even in that game, even though he's afraid, Luigi does what he can to save Mario at the end of the game. We've even got Luigi's own spin-off game, which is New Super Luigi U, which shows us that Luigi definitely does have a brave side to him. Now, I will admit that this movie does show us Luigi's character growth, where he realizes after getting kidnapped by the Shy Guys that he should stand up for himself more often, and I love how this builds up over the course of the movie, with Luigi trying to stand up against Bowser when he's questioning him about Mario, and then having that big fight at the end where he gets his heroic moment and saves Mario from Bowser, also helping him take down Bowser with the Power Star. But I feel like this would have been more effective if they built it up a little longer. This is a problem that is probably caused by the pacing that I mentioned earlier. With this movie being an hour and 32 minutes and mostly focusing on Mario's journey to save his brother, we don't really get those moments where Luigi gets to prove himself. But again, this is just a minor nitpick because the build up to the heroic climax of Luigi's character arc is awesome. Speaking of awesome stuff, I think that might just be everything wrong with this movie. So with all the bad stuff out of the way, let's talk about what made this the second best-selling animated movie of all time. Buckle up, because there is going to be a lot of stuff to talk about here. But anyways, without further ado, let's move on to the good qualities of this movie. The absolute best thing about this movie, without question, are probably the hidden Easter eggs and references hidden throughout this movie. There are so many of them that it's going to be impossible to go through them all, so I'll list the most significant ones. For example, the Punch-Out Pizzeria where Mario and Luigi watch their ad on the TV at the start of the movie is of course a reference to the Punch-Out games, and the restaurant even includes pictures of some characters from the game. I'll talk more in detail about this later, but the character of Spike is inspired by the arcade game called Wrecking Crew, which is also the name of the construction company he works for. I don't know if this reference was intentional or not, but Mario calls Luigi by the nickname Lou in this movie.
Come on, Lou.
Which might be a reference to Mario's Super Show actor, Lou Albano. Additionally, Uncle Tony, one of Mario's family members, almost looks and sounds like Danny Wells, who is Luigi's Super Show actor. There's of course a reference to the NES game Kid Icarus, which Mario plays a small bit of after eating supper with his family. And Mayor Pauline from Super Mario Odyssey also makes a small cameo a little bit later. I mentioned this in one of my Mario movie direct videos already, but if you look closely at Toad's backpack, you can see emblems from Super Mario Odyssey. Additionally, the Toads guarding Princess Peach's castle make a reference to the original Super Mario Bros. NES game by saying that Mario's princess was in another castle. And I already mentioned this earlier, but Mario, Peach, and Toad travel through Bob-omb Battlefield from Super Mario 64 and Yoshi's Island from the SNES game of the same name. The entire Donkey Kong sequence references the spin-off games from that series, and the Mario Kart sequences do this as well. Bowser's outfit that he wears to the wedding is the same outfit that he wore in Super Mario Odyssey, and the eel that swallows Mario and Donkey Kong up is a reference to the infamous eel from Super Mario 64. Mario calling Donkey Kong a Smash Monkey might also possibly be a reference to the Super Smash Bros. Games, but I have no idea if that was intentional or not. When Mario arrives back in Brooklyn at the end of the movie, if you look behind him as the camera pans behind Mario, you'll see a reference to Balloon Fight, another classic NES game, on the car wash sign. And finally, the first Mario game ever, Donkey Kong, is referenced quite a few times in the movie, with an arcade cabinet of it being inside the Punch-Out Pizzeria. And the character of Giuseppe, the man who plays the arcade cabinet in the Punch-Out Pizzeria at the start of the movie, is a reference to Mario's original character from the Donkey Kong arcade game named Jumpman. The references in this movie are insane, because if you're a huge Mario fan like me and you watch the movie, you'll get all these references immediately. Additionally, some of these references are hidden in the movie extremely well, and I didn't know some of them until I watched the special features on the Super Mario Bros. Movie Blu-ray and DVD pack. Like how the wallpaper in Mario's house is made up of the texture of the vines from the original Super Mario Bros. NES game. Or like how when Mario and Luigi crash through the brick wall in the sewer, the hole that they leave behind is shaped like Pixel Mario's head. That last one took me totally by surprise. And what's even better is that Michael Jelenic mentions that nobody ever notices it, and now that I've mentioned it, you guys aren't gonna unnotice it. You're welcome. But anyways, that just goes to show how subtly some of these references are worked into the movie. They managed to work these references into the movie without making it seem like fan service, and I absolutely love that, as that's how the references should be handled. Speaking of references, it really seems as if someone at Illumination is a huge Mario fan, because the movie even bothers to imply Mario's backstory to us, which is something that a lot of regular people might not know about. And I mentioned this earlier when I talked about Spike being a reference to the game Wrecking Crew. So originally, Mario and Luigi were not always plumbers. Shocking, right? In the original Wrecking Crew arcade game, both Mario and Luigi were portrayed as working as construction workers for a construction company, destroying all of a certain set of objects with a large hammer. In this movie, as I mentioned earlier, Mario and Luigi had just quit their jobs as construction workers to work as plumbers full time. And I absolutely cannot believe that someone at Illumination knows that knowledge of Mario and Luigi's origins. I also need to talk about the animation in this movie. The animation is absolutely stunning, and is probably some of the best animation I've ever seen to come out of an Illumination movie. I also mentioned this in one of my Mario movie direct videos, but the directors of the movie, Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic, have said that Illumination went all out for the animation in this movie, and it definitely shows. From the realistic reflections of light on the carts in the cart building sequence, to the added detail of the rainbow lighting on Rainbow Road in the Mario Kart chase scene, the animation in this movie is absolutely incredible. And I really like that Illumination redesigned the characters a little bit to fit their more cartoony style. That type of animation style suits these characters very well. I also need to mention the music in this movie, which, as I mentioned before, is done by Brian Tyler. Once again, I mentioned this in one of my Mario movie direct videos, but Shigeru Miyamoto mentioned that Koji Kondo worked with Brian Tyler to help compose the music for this movie, and the music is absolutely brilliant. The music in this movie also makes references to lots of other Mario games, and it really amazes me with just how well Koji Kondo incorporated some of these famous themes into the movie's soundtrack. Like how you can hear the Luigi's Mansion theme playing here, and the Ghost House theme from Super Mario World playing here. I also really like the original theme that the movie came up with. It's really epic and heroic, and even though it's probably not done by Koji Kondo, it still feels like it would be right at home in a Mario game. There's also a musical reference in the movie that I was not expecting, and that is when Donkey Kong enters the Great Ring of Kong, the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64 starts playing. When I watched this movie in the theaters for the first time, this scene took me completely by surprise. And it's kind of funny too, especially considering that the DK rap is a meme in and of itself. Speaking of songs that became memes, I also cannot talk about the music in this movie without of course referencing the original song in this movie, Peaches. This song became a huge meme once the movie came out, and it's very easy to see why. Bowser playing this piano ballad about Princess Peach accompanied with Jack Black's Tenacious D style singing is just the funniest thing in the world, especially considering how hard Jack Black went on singing the song. Speaking of Jack Black, let's talk about the actors' performances in this movie now. So let's of course start this off by getting the cat out of the bag. Sorry. And let's talk about Chris Pratt's performance as Mario. When the first direct that talked about the Mario movie showed us the cast that was going to be in the movie, everybody was very skeptical about Chris Pratt playing Mario. Some people still might not like that casting choice, and if you disagree with me on this, then that's totally fine. But I said this before and I'll say it again. Chris Pratt actually does work as Mario. And the funny thing about this is that people didn't really realize that until we got some more clips of the movie. There are a lot of instances in this movie where Chris Pratt literally sounds like Charles Martinet, who is Mario's original voice actor in the games in this movie. And Charles Martinet has stated before that he doesn't mind Chris Pratt's performance. I'll say, Chris Pratt did a really great job portraying Mario in this movie, and his voice really suits the character well. Charlie Day also does a really nice job as Luigi, and he really captures that timid side that Luigi sometimes has in games such as Luigi's Mansion. Anya Taylor-Joy does a good job as Princess Peach, and I really feel like she's a nice switch up from Peach's in-game voice actor, who makes her sound a lot higher pitched. Keegan-Michael Key does a really nice job as Toad, and I mentioned this in one of my Mario Movie Direct videos already, that he manages to get down that high-pitched and squeaky voice that Toad has perfectly, while putting his own take on the voice at the same time. We've also got Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, and I really like how they cast him just because they thought his iconic laugh would fit Donkey Kong, as I mentioned earlier. I do think that maybe they shouldn't have really cast him for just that alone, but honestly, that's just a really small nitpick because Seth Rogen still does a really good job. Speaking of actors who did a really great job, we've of course saved the best for last. Let's now talk about the man of the hour himself, Jack Black as Bowser.
I guess love really makes a guy come out of his shell.
Jack Black as Bowser is possibly one of the best casting choices that Illumination could have made for this movie, because you can really tell that Jack Black is having so much fun with this character. You'd think that Jack Black's regular speaking voice wouldn't really work for Bowser, but they managed to pitch down his voice in posts to make it sound a lot gruffer and a bit deeper, and it really fits. There are just so many positives to list off with Jack Black's performance. Everything from his energetic line deliveries to his incredible singing in the Peaches musical number, everything about his performance as Bowser is just spot on.
Just what I thought.
I give major props to him for doing such a great job in this movie, as I don't think that the movie would be the same without him. I also cannot talk about the actors in this movie without of course mentioning Charles Martinet, who ends up making a couple cameos in this movie, using his regular voice for Mario's dad and using his Mario voice for Giuseppe. Hearing Charles Martinet's Mario voice being used for a character that isn't Mario feels a little wrong, but hey, I'm at least happy that they bothered to have him in this movie at all, and I'm also happy that I got to actually meet him at the Motor City Comic Con in May. I still can't believe that happened. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Another thing that I really liked about this movie that I mentioned earlier was Luigi's character arc. I absolutely love how they handled it, setting it up at the beginning of the movie by showing Mario standing up to Spike after making fun of Luigi. It then builds up throughout the course of the movie, as I mentioned earlier, with Luigi trying to stand up against Bowser, and then Luigi has that awesome moment at the end where he finally gets his heroic moment and helps Mario defeat Bowser. This was amazing, and the slow build up to the climax in the final battle was definitely something that I was not expecting out of this movie. Speaking of Luigi, I also love how supportive Luigi is of Mario's dream in this movie. I really like the scene where defeated Mario goes back upstairs and just feels depressed over how his father doesn't support him in his dream to be a full-time plumber. I love how Luigi comes in and tries to make Mario feel better, but this doesn't last for very long. This is most likely due to the fast pacing that I've of course mentioned several times already in this video, but it's a really nice detail that I appreciate. It really shows that Mario and Luigi really are brothers to each other and support each other through thick and thin. Another thing that I really liked about this movie was the parallels between Mario and Donkey Kong that it shows us. Of course, Mario's dad thinks that he's a joke because he left his job as a construction worker to start his own plumbing business, and Cranky Kong thinks that his son is a joke because he's always showing off all the time. These two are very similar characters to each other, and I love how the movie brings this up when they're both in the eel together. This scene is played off as a joke though, so that Mario can make Donkey Kong Kong mad so that they can get the idea to escape. And I feel like this would have been better handled if they realized that they are very similar to each other. Because right before this, you had Donkey Kong thanking Mario for saving him from drowning. And then when it cuts back to them, both are arguing with each other again. You can still have them get mad with each other in this scene as tensions rise, as that's what provides them with an escape opportunity, which I mentioned earlier. But I feel like this would have been better handled if it was drawn out more, and if the characters realized that they are very similar to one another. But anyways, that's really just kind of a minor nitpick, because I love how they both get their moments to prove their parents wrong in the end. Another thing that I really liked about this movie was that Princess Peach actually gets some really awesome moments where she gets to show just what she's capable of. I mentioned this in one of my Mario movie direct videos already, but I love that Princess Peach actually goes up against Bowser herself in this movie as opposed to getting captured by Bowser as she normally would. As a result of this, you get to see Peach do all sorts of awesome things in this movie. And like I said before, it reminds me of games such as Super Mario Bros. 2 or Super Mario 3D World, in which Peach was a playable character in both games. I guess
That is how you princess!
Another thing that I really liked about this movie was how funny it was. Not counting the memes that came out of this movie has some actually funny moments, which is surprising considering this is an Illumination movie of all things. Right off the bat, the movie starts throwing funny jokes out. Because there's, of course, the scene at the beginning of the penguins showing Bowser a taste of their fury, which ends up doing absolutely nothing. Another funny thing that really made me laugh when I watched this movie for the first time in theaters is that after Spike leaves, Mario and Luigi get their first plumbing call. And the fact that Luigi's ringtone on his phone is the GameCube startup intro is absolutely hilarious. Also, I absolutely love the in-joke that Mario hates mushrooms in this movie and can't stand eating them, because that's what you always do in the games to power up. The scene where Mario and Luigi have to deal with an angry Francis in the bathroom is pretty funny, and I love how this actually shows us Mario and Luigi's skills as plumbers. The scene where Mario meets Princess Peach for the first time is also hilarious, as you're most likely expecting Princess Peach to be a welcoming individual, but she ends up flipping Mario over her back, which is hilarious. I love that Bowser knows the names of all of his troops except for the Spinies, and their dejected reactions to Bowser not knowing their names was pretty funny. And I love how Bowser builds up this awesome plan that he has, only to reveal it's to get Princess Peach to marry him, which changes the entire crowd's reaction. I love Bowser and Luigi's interaction with each other, and how Luigi says that princesses only find Mario attractive if they have good taste, which I mentioned earlier. The nihilistic Luma in Bowser's dungeon was also extremely funny, and is actually pretty dark, considering that they willingly want to die. It's actually pretty amazing that Illumination showed restraint for this movie, and didn't rely on bad bathroom humor to make the audience laugh, which is a problem that their Despicable Me movies had. It's great to see that they finally learned that overdoing jokes like that isn't really the best way to handle humor. But anyways, I think that's mostly it for all the funny moments in this movie. Another thing that I massively appreciate about this movie is the fact that this movie is not afraid to get pretty dark in areas. Of course, you've got the Luma who willingly wants to die in this movie, but the scene of Luigi arriving in the Darklands and seeing those dry bones is also pretty dark. The fact that the dry bones in this movie are like lifeless zombies waiting for their next victim is actually pretty creepy, and it's even scarier when you realize that the dry bones used to be alive at one point. So that means that Luigi pretty much has a whole bunch of dead corpses chasing him to the castle. The fact that all of this stuff is in an Illumination movie of all things is pretty surprising, as I don't think that Illumination has ever really gotten dark like that before, but of course I could be wrong about that. The last thing that I'm going to mention before I move on to the miscellaneous things I noticed while watching this movie is that I love Illumination's attention to detail in this movie. For example, I love the fact that they bothered to give Mario cat-like reflexes when he turns into Cat Mario, something that even the original games never did. It's a really nice little detail, and I wonder if Illumination's work on The Secret Life of Pets helped with that. Another small little detail that I liked in the movie is that if you look closely at Mario and Luigi's plumbing commercial, you can see the lighting of the green screen behind them in some scenes, and you can can even see that the chroma key affected Luigi's green a little bit here, which is an insane detail that Illumination did not need to go out of their way to include. Also, when Giuseppe comments on Mario and Luigi's Italian accents in the commercial, you can hear the sound effect of Jumpman jumping over a barrel from the Donkey Kong arcade cabinet that he's playing behind him.
Too much? It's perfect! Wahoo!
That was definitely a nice little detail that I really liked, and I also loved the little detail of Mario's injuries during the final fight with Bowser. Once Mario gets that bruised eye after getting launched into the Punch-Out Pizzeria, he keeps it until he powers up with the Power Star with Luigi. That was definitely a nice touch on the animator's part. I love the details of the ears and tails of both Cat Mario and Tanuki Mario moving independently of each other in the scenes that feature them, as those details really make those power-ups more realistic to the actual animals that they're based off of. The animation is also really detailed too, to which you can actually see the little pieces of individual hair on the characters, but that's not really anything to freak out about. Movie animation has tackled that realism for a while now, but it's really impressive when you manage to put it in a game, since video game animation is very different from film animation. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. I think that might just be all the good stuff that this movie had to offer. So now let's move on to the miscellaneous details that I noticed when I watched the movie. The first thing that I want to mention when talking about the miscellaneous things in this movie is that when the Super Bowl commercial came out showing Mario and Luigi's plumbing commercial, there was a rumor going around that apparently the voice actor of the woman in the commercial was Princess Peach's voice actor from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, Jenny Elias. This claim about the woman being Princess Peach's Super Show actor did end up being true, but only for the Brazilian dub of the movie. In the English dub, the woman in the plumbing ad is voiced by Jessica DeChico. Another thing that I want to mention is that since this movie is so popular, Illumination, of course, has plans for a sequel. This is backed up by the fact that there is an after-credits scene after the credits finish rolling that shows a Yoshi egg from Bowser and Peach's wedding hatching in the sewer area where Mario and Luigi got sucked into the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place. This is, of course, going to mean that Yoshi is going to be a central character in the sequel. I wonder what they're going to do with him in this upcoming movie, and I really wonder if the cut characters that were in the leaked concept art of the movie, like Toadsworth and Toadette, are going to appear in this sequel. There's nothing confirmed as of now, but Jack Black has also pitched an idea for a villain who could try to stop Mario in the sequel, and that is none other than Mario's complete opposite, Wario, who Jack Black proposed should be played by Pedro Pascal. I do think that there are some positives and negatives to featuring Wario in the sequel if he does manage to show up. The good thing here is that there will be a different villain that Mario will have to worry about this time other than Bowser. And Jack Black even proposed in his idea to include Wario in the sequel that he may need to be turned to help Mario and the rest to defend our universe against some other unseen force of evil. This is a really neat concept, but there's a downside to all of this. Wario is infamous for being a source of bad bathroom humor in the Mario games. And if Illumination does go through with this, then they'll have a perfectly justified reason to include that bad bathroom humor that they've done in their previous movies such as Despicable Me in the sequel. I'm kind of split down the middle about this. I love the idea of there being a different villain in the sequel, and Bowser and Mario potentially putting aside their rivalry to take down the new threat. But at the same time, this first movie showed some real restraint from Illumination's side to not include the bad bathroom humor. It really showed that Illumination learned from their mistakes in the past on what is funny and what isn't. So if you include all this bad bathroom humor in the sequel, then that's going to show that Illumination hasn't learned from their mistakes, and that they still rely on the bad bathroom humor just to make the kids laugh because, ha ha, for funny! Another thing that I noticed from watching the movie and from seeing promotional material is that it seems like Luigi has a new catchphrase now, and that catchphrase is,
You just got Luigi'd.
Sorry. Anyways, I think that might just be everything that I wanted to mention for this movie, so I think I'll bring this review to a close. So now it's time to answer the question. Was this movie better than the first Mario movie? My answer is yes! Definitely. Unlike the last Mario movie, which didn't even feel like a Mario movie at times, with Yoshi looking like he belongs in a Jurassic Park movie, and Bowser just looking like some random guy in a business suit, this movie, on the other hand, actually felt like a Mario movie. You can tell that there was clear inspiration taken from the games in this movie, which the first movie didn't really have a lot of. This movie was a perfect Mario movie, and I definitely recommend it to anyone that hasn't seen it yet. This is the longest review video on my channel as of right now, so that means that there's definitely something here with this movie. You know, I don't care at all what any of the critics on movie rating sites such as Rotten Tomatoes might say about this movie. I think that it's definitely a super movie and is definitely one of Illumination's bests. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is the first review video on my channel to focus on something that isn't Thomas related. And this is also my first time reviewing an actual movie that was released in theaters and all that. So if you'd like to see more videos like this on my channel, make sure to like and subscribe. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. This is the TSMU fan, signing out. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters who have chosen to remain anonymous. If you'd like to learn how to get your name at the end of every new video that I upload, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I've linked it on my YouTube channel's banner.